welcome to the North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. I'm joined today by two exceptional ladies in the agricultural industry. They've devoted their time and energy to the education of youth, specifically in practical, hands-on ways for them to become familiar with food, where it comes from, and how it grows. I'd like to welcome Tamara Seeley of Nutrients for Life Canada and Harriet Wegmeyer of the Nutrients for Life Foundation of the US. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I'll ask you this question and have you answer separately, because I know the stories are a little bit different. So, why was Nutrients for Life founded, and when? So, Tamara, do you want to start?
Well, sure. So, Nutrients for Life Foundation Canada was founded in 2008 by Fertilizer Canada, or formerly known as the Canadian Fertilizer Institute. So we're a registered Canadian charity producing educational materials to talk about soil science and agricultural sustainability.
That's awesome. And Harriet?
Well, Chrissy, I guess we're the older sibling on this one. Nutrients for Life in the U.S. was founded in 2004, and it really came about by some visionary leaders in the fertilizer industry that felt that the fertilizer industry really needed a voice to share its story, but also the sort of agronomic principles of even like why are plant nutrients important. So we had I think it was about 9 founding board members, and it was their vision, and it took us a couple of years to get our first curriculum. That was actually in 2007, 2008. And I think that's when we started talking to our Canadian friends saying, hey, let's get in this together.
That's awesome. So what is the overarching mission of Nutrients for Life?
So I think it's the same. I mean, for Tamara and I both in the United States and Canada, and it's really, to educate people about the important role that crop nutrients have in our society. And, our focus is really kindergarten through 12th graders. So students is really where we put our time and resources into creating tools for teachers and students.
So do you actually go into schools then and talk to those kids? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Not this year.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, not this year.
Right, Tamara, we've become really good at virtual field trips and Zooming into classrooms.
Yeah.
Tamara, do you want to speak on that?
I just finished wrapping up a hand texturing workshop with a grade 3 class in Prince Edward Island. So we just finished up our Zoom call, and we did some hand texturing of sand and clay. So we've adapted to this new normal as it may be, and really excited to get back into the classroom once we're able to, for sure.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, so in the United States, it's really, I think it's really different depending on where you are geographically. So our team has staff members in a couple of different states, and we have one team member, Tracy Baxter, and she's in Florida, and she is the only member of our team that has actually been out and about, and she has been to classrooms this year, although not until I would say maybe like a month or 2 ago did she start being able to go in. But everyone else, I mean, yeah, we can only do virtual, lessons and field trips and that type of thing now. But when we return to normal, yes, part of what our regular jobs are speaking in going into classrooms, conducting lessons in the classroom, as well as having workshops for teachers. So doing some of those professional development opportunities where we gather large groups of teachers together.
Wow. So speaking of the last year, what are some ways that Nutrients for Life has changed? Is there any kind of big changes that you've had to undergo?
Well, yes, we certainly had to make a big pivot last March.
Mm-hmm.
Normally we would be out and about at teachers' conventions and in the classroom. So we quickly adapted all of our resources into a downloadable format, so teachers and students can print them at home. We also were quick to adapt some of our lessons into e-lessons, so some lessons that could be easily done at home with materials found in the home. So if the students want to do a few experiments pertaining to water movement in the plant or soil textures. We had some e-lessons available for that as well.
Oh, that's really good. And are there differences between the Canadian and American programs?
There's a few. Yeah, go ahead, Harriet.
Yeah. I think our core curriculum is the same. Theirs is just Canadianized, is what I say. They spell phosphorus different, and it always, OUS as opposed to US, that French influence. So there's differences in language, right? So in Canada, they have to have French. Everything has to be, English and French version, but the core curriculum itself is the same. And I think that's kind of really the foundation of the resources that we have. But then on the programming side, there are certainly differences. Like Tamara has a really strong garden program. That's not something that we do in the US. So there are certainly differences, but I think there's way more commonality in that core function. The core resources are the same, with just those minor differences, with language, and then of course our standards, in the United States and standards in Canada they're so similar, but they are different.
That's good. So how is the program funded?
So again, two separate programs. We have two separate groups of funders. Primarily for in the United States, it's fertilizer companies, people that work in agriculture as individuals. Those are our primary donors. So what we've always strived for is our resources for our teachers are free. We don't want our teachers have to pay for them. And I should go and say our core curriculum that we use has been reviewed by the Smithsonian Institution. And so the teachers, when they get resources like that, they know, they're trusted. It's a trusted source. So it's a pretty big deal. And to be talking about agriculture, we definitely believe agriculture should be in every classroom, not just ag, like sort of the FFA group or the ag classes, but the way that it's been done, it's really meant for our core science classes at the middle school and high school level. And then of course, elementary, it's across the board.
Right. That's really interesting.
And here in Canada, we're also 100% agribusiness funded. So a lot of plant nutrient suppliers and local agribusiness are funders. And like in the US, all of our resources are free for teachers from coast to coast.
That's great. And what about, do you work with homeschooling as well? I know there's been an uptick in that in the last year too.
Yes,
yeah.
For sure. We do get requests from homeschoolers, and of course, they are certainly applicable to anything that we have to share.
Oh, that's awesome. So where are your team members located?
Mary, you want to go first?
Sure. So we are a small but mighty group of 3 in Canada. So I am in New Brunswick, and I am responsible for everything east of Manitoba. And so our other colleagues would be Kent Lorne, and he's located in Manitoba, and he takes care of Manitoba and Western Canada. And then, of course, Ray Cochran, he is our Saskatchewan regional manager and takes care of Saskatchewan and helps Kent out in Alberta as well.
Awesome.
So our team is a little bit larger. We have a Western, what we call sort of a Western regional representative. That's Rick Phillips, and he's located in Iowa, but he services Washington, California, and Iowa. We have, I'm trying to see geographically where we'll go. I guess we'll just head east. We have Melissa Biggie in Kansas, and so she covers the whole state there. Deborah Kearney's in Iowa, and Haley Sergey's in Illinois. So you notice a heavy concentration in the Midwest. I'm going to come back to that. We have Tiffany Ballou, and she is in Louisiana. And then we have Tracy Baxter, who I mentioned before, in Florida. And then we have Katie Nenninger, who's in Ohio. So the way that in the United States, the way that our location were decided was really where is their agriculture, and where does the fertilizer industry really want to have more agricultural lessons in those classrooms? Where do we want to concentrate? And so obviously corn and soybeans in the Midwest, there's a large concentration of farms, large farmland out there. And so that's why we have those 3 states that are right. I mean, they're right together. But we felt as an industry, we can't assume that everybody knows about like why fertilizer exists. Even if you live surrounded by cornfields, it doesn't mean that you even know how, the kids on the school bus going to school know how the corn is planted or harvested or why it's even there and what it's going to be used for, let alone how it's planted. And that the fact that crop nutrients are really important in, to get a good yield and a healthy crop.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's a nice, robust team for sure. That's awesome. So personally, what are your favorite resources that you offer?
I'll go first. I'm going to go first on this one. So this is an oldie, but a goodie. It was the very first resource that we had developed way back in 2008, Humanity Against Hunger. So this resource, we did have to redo it this past year because Adobe Flash expired. So it's been recreated, but it's been recreated just as it was, just with a couple of little tweaks. It is where kids go, online, and they help farmers in Africa grow maize. And so maize is, we grow some maize here in the US, but it's like corn. And they look at the nutrient deficiencies in the crop. And, if there's, purpling on the leaf or yellowing on the leaf, and they through sort of almost real world interaction, but real pictures. And, they're amazing with digital content these days. The kids kind of feel like they're in Africa helping these farmers for real identify what nutrient deficiencies exist and what nutrients they need to put, back in the soil to get these crops healthy. So we found over the years, not only is this a very useful tool to understand nutrient deficiencies, but there's also sort of that global viewpoint from it, that it's not just, a lot of times we look at the United States and it's just our crops and it's just our food, but this resource definitely, covers the globe and makes kids look at things, growing food, in not just the singular lens of the US.
Wow, that is incredible. That is so cool. Every school should be doing that. That's amazing.
Well, and it's fun. The thing is,
Yeah.
it's fun. Like the kids, we find that if they're doing something that doesn't seem like work, they're learning and they're having fun with it, they retain that information easier than when it's a struggle.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And Tamara?
That is a great game, and it is well taken up by the students. My favorite lesson would be, can a single apple slice feed the world? So that's a lesson where we would go in and talk about pretending the apple is the world and how much of the surface of the earth is available to grow food. So normally when I go into a classroom, I would bring apples, and we would cut the apples together and talk about how we use our land on the earth, and then get down to the final 1/32 of the apple and peel off the peeling and show that is all the top soil we have to feed the world. So I think it's pretty impactful.
That's powerful. Yeah, very cool. So if somebody wants the Nutrients for Life program in their school, how do they go? How do they go about doing that?
Well, for here in Canada, visit our website, nutrientsforlife.ca. They can request a visit. We also have a selection of virtual visits that are available to teachers to book, as well as some other opportunities to order things currently. And they can contact us, Kent, Ray, or myself, right from the website.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and similar here, same story, just different website, nutrientsforlife.org in the US. And we have this year, it's been a challenging year for sure, but there's so many benefits that have come out of it. So geographically in the United States, I mentioned where our team exists. So if you are in Vermont, nobody nobody's close to you. However, now with all of our virtual opportunities, we have done not just, Zoom meetings, we have done virtual field trips where we've, taken the farm or taken, discussed, fertigation and that type of thing right to different classrooms. There's, it's like there's no boundaries anymore. We can go to any classroom, and we have a list of experts that are like PhD agronomists, which are fantastic. The older, like middle school and high school, maybe, a little bit more challenging with the elementary kiddos, but like middle school and high school, talking about, just career opportunities in agriculture, and bringing these agronomists and, engineers and other types of folks into classrooms. All teachers have to do is, is find us on the website and request that, and we can make it happen. It's so much easier this year than, 2 years ago to do something like that.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely a positive that's come out of all of this.
Yes, we have certainly seen a lot of website traffic in 2020.
Yeah.
Our downloads were up over 400% over 2019. So we know teachers and students are out there looking for resources, and it certainly shows in our website stats.
That's awesome. And how can ag professionals get involved? Is there anything like we as an industry can do to help the mission?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a couple of things. So if you want to, folks in the ag industry, we have a list, like I said, of folks that have volunteered to, hop on a Zoom call and, visit a classroom. We'll take as many people on that list as we can get, because geographically, like even most schools are closed to visitors. So even if you live in the same town, you still can't get into the classroom, but it's sure super cool if you are the ag professional that can visit the classroom that's 10 miles down the road or something like that. So that's one way, just to be on our volunteer list. And then we also have ag professional toolkits, and the lesson that Tamara was talking about with the apple lesson is so powerful when kids see literally that whole apple as the globe, and then they see that little tiny piece of land that is where we grow all our food. That is one of the lessons, and we have I think we have 7 different lessons. The ag professionals in this box get everything that they need to teach that lesson in their community, minus water. So any liquid, they have to provide that themselves. But there's some that have like different soil samples from different parts of, different parts of the country. And you can certainly request one of those. Although we haven't had too much activity on that this past year, again, because those are more of an in-person activity.
Right.
And there's just not much in-person activities going on right now.
Yeah.
We have those as well. We have them ready to go in French and English, but we were going to launch them last March, and
that was a bad date.
So we haven't launched them yet, but they will be up on our website, hopefully maybe by fall, and they would be able to order to take it to the classroom. So they would include a PowerPoint, resources to leave behind with the teacher, a USB with all of our resources as well. So
that's great. Yeah, nice to be armed with the tools to know what you're talking about once you get up there. That's really great.
Yeah. Chrissy, I think in agriculture, I really feel that people that work in the industry, they're so proud of the work that, we do every single day. And sometimes it's just, well, how do I share that with my community? And I think what, at Nutrients for Life, what we try to do, I mean, our primary focus certainly is our students and like creating resources for those students, but also arming members of the agriculture industry with tools that they can then become the teacher, and they don't have to do work to do it. Like literally, as long as they can read the information, they've got everything right there that they can then be really proactive advocates in their communities, and really share their personal story, about what the job that they do and why it's so important.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. Most kids, when they're trying to decide what they want to do when they grow up, how often does somebody mention to them, oh, well, there's agriculture, but that's where most of our jobs are. So that's important.
that's where we're going next. Like our new resource that we're working on is definitely, it's career focused. And it's
That's great.
careers, and it's careers not only in the sense of, I mean, you can be a lawyer, you can be an ag lawyer, you know, where you have all your information and your specifics are all, you know, agricultural related, but you still have, you know, you have your law degree. It's just that that's your specialty. You know, and engineers and agronomists, MBAs, we look at those jobs, but there's also the jobs that are more like, you know, marketing, communications, you know, even,
Sales.
yeah, sales, you've got all that. And then there's the jobs that maybe that don't require the college degree. I mean, you could be a drag line operator, equipment operator.
Mhm.
There's just so many opportunities. And I think that a lot of our high school kids, you know, they
Yeah, they
don't
just don't
hear
know.
about it. And these are great jobs, great paying jobs. I mean, a lot of them, you know, coming out of high school, if you know, a college is not your path, there's so many great opportunities. And so that's one of the things we want to make sure, we're planning for fall launch is a career initiative tied to our high school curriculum, where all these careers are, at least known. If the teacher teaches the curriculum, they will be able to, share all these, different career options, for their with their students.
Wow, I love it. That is fantastic.
Mhm.
So, one last question. I'll ask you both. Harriet, I'll start with you. What fires you up? What's your personal mission?
My personal mission, that's a great question, is really to have agriculture known and respected, by everyone, just every single day, known and known the value of and respected. Because, you know, I think because agriculture sometimes is looked at as, you know, old fashioned, right? Because we've been doing it forever. We've had to, you know, since existence.
Yeah.
Looks a little bit old fashioned and maybe doesn't always get the respect or isn't look at as, you know, as a science. But it certainly is. I mean, our farmers on a day-to-day basis, I mean, you know, they are scientists. They absolutely are. And just that it's respected. It's just a great science. And if we don't have agriculture, we don't have food and a whole lot more.
That's it. Absolutely. And Tamara, for you, what fires you up?
Well, I often tell students I have the best job in the world. I am passionate about agriculture. I believe, like Harriet said, that it needs to be respected and known. It's a great industry to work in. It's providing food for every, you know, for the world. And understanding soil science is certainly something that is important. And most of our PD events are titled Soil, Life's Main Ingredient. So I do believe
Wow.
promoting soil under our feet and talking about the importance of it in our daily lives is certainly something that if I can tweak one teacher or one student to pursue or have a better understanding of agriculture, then I think I've done my job.
That's awesome. Um, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today. That was really great. And to everybody who's watching, if you want to learn more, all the links will be in the show notes. So yeah, if you're ready for nutrients for life in your classroom, definitely get a hold of these guys. Thank you so
For
much.
having us.
Thank you so much for having us.